Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have a couple of things that I wanted to talk with you guys about. The first thing I want to go over with you guys today is a Blame Truth video that I saw that he put out yesterday. In that video, he mentioned that they removed the 24/7 playlist from Black Ops 6, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense when we get the launch of Black Ops 7 and there's zero 24/7 playlist to be seen. I've always been a really big fan of the 24/7 playlist, and I know much of the community is as well, and it's never made sense why it seems like we have to pull teeth to get them, especially early in the year. In my personal opinion, when it comes to early Call of Duty, I feel like we should have at least one every weekend. That way, maybe for the first couple of weeks, they could try out some different maps. But to be honest, with how big of a staple they are in COD, I don't think there's really any reason why we shouldn't have one at launch. I can't remember if this is something that I said in yesterday's video or if I've said it on the podcast, but I'm a person that just enjoys the regular gameplay loop of Call of Duty. It's one of the reasons why when X-Defiant came out, I spent a pretty good amount of time playing the game. But for me, when it comes to where I'm at with Call of Duty, aside from obviously grinding for camos, it's really only ranked play that I'm looking forward to. And I think not getting ranked play at the start of the year is kind of what's started to sway my opinion on the game just a little bit. But I am going to try to get into some 8s tomorrow, so I'm going to see if that shifts my opinion at all. Overall, I'm enjoying shooting my gun. I'm still enjoying the maps. And I do think one of the things that I like most about COD this year is that they've added open matchmaking. And trust me, I know open matchmaking, SBM, and everything to do with both sides of that has been a very passionate conversation over at Blame Truth's channel the past couple of years. And when Blame Truth was talking about SBMM and the open matchmaking in his video, he brought up something that I'd kind of been thinking about to myself as well. He brought up the fact that Call of Duty has spent so much time catering to the noobs and the bad players, and now has seemingly reversed that and done completely the opposite by nerfing aim assist into the ground. And obviously there is still SBMM in the game inside of the standard playlist, so bad players and noobs still have their safe space that they can go to if they're trying to avoid more of that competitive Call of Duty feel. But to be honest, I think this aim assist nerf and the separation of SBMM and open is just going to make this whole situation in the community even worse. To me, it doesn't make sense why you would increase the skill gap to such a level while also including two separate pools that players can matchmake in. You now have what can be called the high end and the low end, and by separating those two into separate playlists, in effect you have the same result that SBMM had on matchmaking before. You have the worst players that normally would be bottom of the leaderboards and lobbies all matchmaking with themselves over here, and then you kind of have all the average and up players competing against each other. And this splitting of the fan base just doesn't really make any sense to me. I don't get who this is going to benefit at all in the end, and I've always been a believer that in any video game, if you are bad, you aren't going to get better by playing against bad players. And I know that not every gamer out there is trying to become the next Scump or be the next CDL player, but I do think that most people strive to improve at least a little bit when it comes to their favorite video game. And I think all of this adds to the fact that these lobbies still feel pretty competitive, at least in my experience. In my lobbies, it seems like everyone is pretty much neck and neck. And I think we're only seeing this because we have this huge disparity of skill now from the top to the bottom with the aim assist nerf. And with these two separate playlists, I feel like the more time that goes on, those players at the bottom of the leaderboards might just say, you know what? I'm gonna go to standard where there's the SBMM so that way I can get better lobbies and I can do better. In my opinion, they should just remove one of the playlists. It should just be one or the other, whether they're gonna pick SBMM or open or a mix of the two. And if Call of Duty's listening, you're just gonna have to make a choice. This is only gonna result in more volatility within the fan base. One of the other things I wanted to talk about with you guys today that I've talked about on the Uninstalled podcast is the effect that Call of Duty is going to have in the gaming market this year. The next thing I wanted to talk about with you guys, and I've talked about this a little bit on the Uninstalled podcast, is the effect that Call of Duty would or would not have on the gaming market this year. This year's different. There's actual competition for Call of Duty. We have games like Battlefield 6, we have games like Arc Raiders, we have actual real competition in the shooter space, which Call of Duty has been without for a little while now. I could think back to a time where seemingly there were years that went by where Battlefield was never really competitive with Call of Duty. And in the lead up to the release, there's been one big question on my mind. Are we going to see all these games lose their players when Call of Duty comes out, similar to what we've seen in years before, or are we going to see the opposite? And when I looked at the numbers, it seems like we're looking at the latter. Now, when you're looking at this chart, the number 7 is going to be where the release of Black Ops 7 was. And obviously, based on the chart, we can clearly see that launch day was a little bit slow, but the numbers have gone up, and it seems like a lot of players are waiting to get the game this year. They're looking at gameplay and maybe watching their favorite streamer. I know Optic is doing the race to Master Prestige right now. So it seems like a lot of people just don't really have their minds made up on the game and are waiting to be convinced. But there's no denying, when you look at the numbers over the first 48 hours of release for Call of Duty, and you compare those to Battlefield 6 and Arc Raiders, it's pretty clear there's a problem. But to be honest, when I saw how bad the game was performing, it seemed kind of out of the ordinary. And I'm not someone that normally keeps up with active players or how many units a game is selling. So I decided to go and take a look at the numbers. And if we take a look at this chart here, Black Ops 6 blows Black Ops 7 out of the water. And it's strange because I feel like the general consensus right now in the fan base is Black Ops 7 is better than Black Ops 6. And it gets even crazier when you take a look back even further and you see that Black Ops 7 is doing worse than Modern Warfare 3, which compared to Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 6 felt like a breath of fresh air for a lot of people. And I feel like this could be chalked up to a lot of things. As a Call of Duty fan, my brain can go to maybe this is developer fatigue. Maybe we're seeing these kinds of dips because we're having 2 games back to back from Infinity Ward and then from Treyarch. Maybe the system that Call of Duty has been trying to do, which is 1 developer every 3 years, would work better, but obviously we know there's been issues in development which has caused this problem. But when the community as a whole has come to the conclusion that this new game is better than the last one and it's performing worse, there's only one thing my mind can really go to. And I think that Treyarch just dropped the ball with Black Ops 6. And I know it's crazy to say based on the numbers. Obviously 6 is doing a lot better in the same time period. But trust me, I can think back to the lead up of release of Black Ops 6 and all the videos the development team was putting out talking about the game, and I was really excited. But I think the hype that Treyarch built for that game far exceeded the actual quality of the game that we were going to get. And I think people were burned by that. I feel like the entire community has always looked at Treyarch as the premier developer, the developer that would be able to save us from the mistakes of other devs. And fast forward to the build up for Black Ops 7, everything that the developers were saying kind of felt like a broken record to me. I really do think that Black Ops 6 did a good job at bringing the community back together and bringing people back on board to Call of Duty. But Treyarch may have just dropped the ball, and now some of those players that they've seemingly lost may not be getting back on at all. But that's all I wanted to talk with you guys about today. Let me know down in the comment section, why do you think we're seeing such low numbers for Black Ops 7 this year? Do you think we're going to see these numbers continue to go up over the next couple of days? Do you think that this is the peak that it's ever going to reach on Steam? Let me know what you think either way down in the comments. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you all later.